Has Andrew dragged his daughters into a fresh financial scandal? Has the plot to bring Harry back to the UK made a nightmare return? Did Meghan actually ghost her gravely ill father? And did Queen Camilla have notes for the actor playing a character inspired by her ex, Andrew Parker Bowles? Have we got a show for you? Hello and welcome to Palace Confidential. I'm Jo Elvin and today I am joined by just one guest, the one and the only Richard Eden, the Daily Mail's diary editor. Welcome. And now we know that you have Rebecca fans and she's been missing for a couple of weeks, but do not panic. The Daily Mail's royal editor may not be here physically, but she will still find a way to give us a rundown on the latest royal news. Now, before we dive into this week's headlines, I want to share something shocking with you. It turns out that half of our regular viewers are not subscribed. I mean, isn't that mad, Richard?
Crazy.
And I'm not angry, just disappointed, a little bit heartbroken, because there is a very simple solution. If you don't want to miss our exclusive, most confidential content, just subscribe for free. Case in point, our fabulous fashion special from earlier this week that featured world-renowned designer Amanda Wakely, OBE. And if you want to dress like a royal for less, she has well and truly got you covered, literally. So do check the link below for that. But there is more. We also have the weekly Palace Confidential newsletter, which you can sign up to by scanning the QR code on your screen right now. Just grab your phone, open the camera app, point it at the code until a little notification appears. Follow the link and it's that simple, or you can click the link in the description below. But be quick, because next week there's a very special royal Christmas quiz in the newsletter as a special festive bonus, and I know you won't want to miss that. Gosh, I'm wondering if I would pass that or not. How do you think you'd do? Or are you writing that quiz?
I'm helping with it, yes.
Okay, fine. So he's the cheat. But finally, the eagle-eyed viewers amongst you might have noticed a little Christmas elf, one by the name of Charlotte, has come in overnight and transformed our palace set into a stunning Christmas scene.
It's fantastic. I'm
slightly embarrassed to tell you that Richard Eden was caught red-handed this morning, shaking the presents under the tree to figure out what's inside. Little spoiler alert, all yours are socks.
This is not true, not true.
Yes, it is. It's all true, including the socks bit. I was kind of hoping to take the credit for this resplendent Christmas tree, but no, it's all Charlotte. She does a brilliant job. Now, let's get to it. Now, as you'll have noticed, our beloved Rebecca isn't here, as I mentioned. Instead, she's currently at an event with, surprise, surprise, Queen Camilla. Lucky her, but before she set out through the snow, she recorded she recorded a roundup of the major royal events that she has attended thus far this very busy Christmas season.
Yes, so the royal festive season is in full swing with three brilliant events in the last few days. Starting, of course, with Friday's event, which was the Princess of Wales's Together at Christmas carol service at Westminster Abbey. Now, it's a really magical event. It's been running for 5 years now. It's become a real stalwart in the royal calendar and on the Christmas television schedules. And, you know, we love it for many things, but mostly, I would say, because we see the princess there with her family. She was already there doing some checks and some last-minute checks and some chatting to some of the stars and the people in the congregation. But she came out to meet her husband, Prince William, who arrived with their children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte and little Prince Louis. And they arrived with the chains, the links to go on a paper chain on a tree outside, a tree of connectivity, which was one of the themes of the event, bringing people together. And I think people were really taken by seeing the children's very carefully done handwriting on the sides of their contributions to the tree. I can say, having been in the congregation, it is well worth watching if you get the chance to watch it on ITV this Christmas. There was incredible performances, amazing readings, including the actress Kate Winslet and Prince William himself. Then on Wednesday, I was actually back at Westminster Abbey, this time with the King, who was attending an Advent service there. He tries to attend an Advent service every year, and this one was particularly beautiful because we saw him holding a candle, we saw him singing hymns. Many in the congregation were there because they had been persecuted because of their Christian religion around the world, so there was a really serious message to it. And he had a lovely chat with some of those who gave readings and addresses afterwards. And then the reason why I'm not with you filming Palace Confidential today is because, in all honesty, it's one of my favourite events of the year. And it's when Queen Camilla throws open the doors to Clarence House and invites a group of seriously and terminally ill young children to dress the Christmas tree there. The children are from two of the charities she's very much involved with, Helen and Douglas House, which is a hospice in Oxfordshire, and Roald Dahl's marvellous charity, which helps fund nurses for these children. And truly it's magical. We have Father Christmas, we have reindeers, the children are treated to a proper Christmas lunch, sausages and mash actually, and decorated biscuits, which is served up by the Queen and her staff herself. We'll have a few more engagements between now and Christmas from the royal family. They're not intending to shut up the palace doors quite yet, but I think it's worth highlighting what we've seen in the last few days because they really epitomise what the royal family do best at Christmas.
Thank you, Rebecca. You certainly have been a very lucky little elf this Christmas. Richard, Rebecca spoke about Catherine's carol service, and isn't it remarkable that how it's been a very short space of time that it's really become part of the national calendar, something that people wait for.
Yeah, I mean, Rebecca's so lucky to attend in person. You know, I've obviously just read about it, seen the pictures and look forward to seeing it. No, it's only one royal correspondent from our paper, I'm afraid.
Well, maybe you should audition your lovely altar boy tones and let you join in.
But I look forward to seeing it on television on Christmas Eve. But yeah, it's become a real regular. I mean, I think it's the fifth one, and already it's part of the calendar and something we look forward to. So, you know, well done to Catherine for establishing a new regular royal event.
Exactly. Do you think it's because she's the impetus behind it that it's become such a highlight?
I think definitely people want to be involved, and we've seen that with all the different things she's done, the lovely touches of getting Lady Gabriella Windsor involved in the music, using the charity that the Duchess of Kent co-founded, and Future Talent to get young people involved. And each year she seems to think, obviously puts a lot of thought and work into it. Who can I get this year?
Yeah.
Who would, you know, enjoy being on it? And that really sort of helps with the spirit of Christmas, doesn't it?
Oh, it's lovely. And I know you don't love it when I come to you for fashion chat, but did anyone's outfit catch your eye, or did any particular guests you found interesting?
Well, the outfit that caught my eye actually was Carol Middleton's lovely tartan coat.
Me too, that was my favourite.
There is something about Christmas, isn't it? I think it's that sort of Victorian thing we think of. Tartan goes quite well with Christmas.
It's a cosy perennial, isn't it?
Yeah. And in terms of people there, one person that was really interesting to see was Lady Davina Windsor's daughter. So Lady Davina Windsor is the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester's daughter, who married someone of mixed heritage. Well, no, her children are mixed heritage because he is a Maori from New Zealand. They've since separated, but we've seen their children at a few events, and in this occasion we saw her daughter Senna, who we hadn't seen since Queen Elizabeth's funeral, and she's grown up quite a lot now. She's 15 and wearing a lovely blue dress, and you know, seems to be doing well.
Lovely.
So it'd be great if we could see her at more events.
Indeed. Senna's a pretty name, isn't it? I like
really
that.
Pretty.
Well, for the full fashion rundown on the Carol service, you should definitely watch the episode of Palace Fashion that we released earlier this week, and that will play directly after this episode. Now, on to 4 people who certainly weren't feeling the Christmas spirit this week. On Saturday, 4 protesters were arrested at the Tower of London for vandalising a display case containing part of the crown jewels. Richard, this is a bad look for security at the Tower, isn't it?
Well, security sort of just can't win. I mean, I would say on the one hand, it's better than, you know, at the Louvre in Paris, where...
Well, it reminded me of that. I wondered if it was the same gang.
Well, in that case, that was burglars who managed to get in and get these French crown jewels. In this case, our crown jewels are very well protected in these glass cases. I think they're actually bomb-proof. And all they did was throw custard, I think it was, you know, at the case. So sure, it got a few pictures, headlines, but you could argue in a way it illustrates how good the security is. I mean, perhaps they should, you know, keep an eye out for anyone trying to bring custard or anything into the Tower of London.
The group that claimed responsibility are called Take Back Power, and they say they're all about targeting the luxury lifestyles of the super rich. Personally, I don't like to see custard go to waste. But, you know, so what do you think? Do you think that it was a successful sort of stunt? Or?
I just find these groups so tiresome. Like, yeah, it was successful in the sense that it got a bit of publicity, but it's pathetic, isn't it? I mean, come on. There's better ways. If you want to try to convince people of your arguments, make good arguments, win people over. We've got democracy. People have a chance to say things. You don't need to throw silly stunts like this, which just involve a lot of clean-up work for hard-working people at the Tower of London.
And presumably end up with you getting arrested.
Yeah, and you've been there recently for your royal walks, haven't you?
Yes.
They're great staff who work there.
They definitely are, and if you haven't seen that, definitely check that out on Royal Walks. That was a really fun nighttime adventure. Thank you. You have to come with us one time.
Yeah.
Please do. Now, speaking of financial scandals, let's chat about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Remember him? Well, thanks to some brilliant reporting by Claudia Joseph at the Mail on Sunday, we've learned of a fresh financial scandal concerning Andrew. But this one involves his daughters. So, Richard, what have we learned? And can we start with an explainer quickly on this peppercorn rent concept?
Yeah, I mean, there has been a sort of growing fuss over the favourable arrangements given to members of the royal family from the Crown estate for properties that they're allowed to live in. And lots of them have done things like pay a large amount of money up front, and then they pay with what we've called a peppercorn, which is just a symbolic, they don't physically hand over a peppercorn.
I was going to say, it sounds so cute, but it's weird.
But it means that they're not really paying for these places that they live.
Yeah.
So what this story was about, that Claudia Joseph had written about, was it was Prince Andrew and Fergie, Duke and Duchess of York, as they were then, when he was still a working royal. They managed to arrange accommodation for their daughters at St James's Palace, where there's lots of different flats. And it was, I think, a beautiful apartment that had been done up with £250,000 of taxpayers' money.
Right.
And they were given extremely favourable terms. So they were paying, I think, roughly 1/12 of what it would get on the open market. And you can rent these places. I did a story I love writing was about the Hollywood stars Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones, who...
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, they got a flat in St James's Palace, so they are commercially available.
Right.
But the question of whether Beatrice and Eugenie should have got it, is an interesting one. It's not clear if they still have that flat. I don't think they do. But, basically, my view on this is if you're a working member of the royal family, you can get accommodation to go with it. That seems right to me, in the same way you do with other jobs and if you're a member of staff at the palace.
But if you're not?
But if you're not, as in the case of Beatrice and Eugenie, well then you shouldn't be allowed such good terms.
It's a conversation that looks set to run for a bit, doesn't it? In your recent episode of Reading the Royals about Princess Michael of Kent, you mentioned that she had a peppercorn rent going back to something like the 1980s. And then we discussed recently Prince Edward's name mentioned in the same context. So the royal family haven't really got a handle on this, and they kind of probably need to, don't they?
They do, but it's a very tricky situation because Kensington Palace, for example, where Prince and Princess Michael have their apartments, is there for the royal family. And Queen Elizabeth gave her beloved cousin Prince Michael an apartment, I think, on their wedding, and there was no suggestion of them having to pay for it. But then when it emerged that, because they were no longer working royals and they were living basically in this free apartment, there was a bit of a scandal years ago about that, and they started paying, or Queen Elizabeth paid for them, I think, until they could afford it. And it was a lot, I think it was like £120,000 a year. But you've got all of Kensington Palace there with these beautiful apartments in a prime spot that could go for lots of money. And it was sort of known as the aunt attic, I think they would call it before.
Well, that makes it sound all very quaint and sweet. But it's,
but the idea was it was where elderly retired members of the royal family could live.
Yeah.
But it's an ongoing question, and it's one which is being looked at in detail now because these, big-nosed MPs have got their eyes on it.
The MPs, and I dare say groups like the Custard people will be looking at information like, Andrew saving up to £3.1 million over the 14 years that his daughters lived in that St James's Palace place. Should that money be paid back? And where should that money go if it is? Who should benefit?
Yeah, it's all interesting questions. And the context for our viewers is we have a left-wing Labour government, which is very unpopular. And so they are trying to sort of please their people on the left. And lots of those people are Republicans. They love it if you take measures against, rich people or the royal family. So there's potential trouble ahead.
Indeed. Well, and we'll be reporting on all of those developments as they come. Now, we've got more shocking news about Andrew coming up. It's like, I can't believe how many times I say that. But first, we need to get into your DMs. We're so modern talking about DMs, aren't we? On last week's episode of Palace Confidential, our panellists were very impressed with the German state visit. So we wanted to see if our German viewers agreed. So let's hear from Anne Chris G, who said, I'm from Germany and thought the images from the state visit were amazing. Princess Catherine looks stunning. Richard is right. Are you ever wrong, Richard? Black Forest cake is the best cake, especially when my mum makes it. Well, tell us where you're on. We'll be right over. And we have a username, Sit on a Whack, who added, Sit on a Whack sounds a little bit painful, if you don't mind me saying, but the comment here is German here. I watched the speeches of King Charles and President Steinmeier. I enjoyed the mutual friendship and jokes they conveyed. I thought they both looked relaxed, especially at a state banquet. I too love watching Palace Confidential. Congratulations all. Thank you so much. Now, thank you to all our viewers from Germany who gave their input. We absolutely love interacting with our Palace fans from all over the world. Now, last week, Richard also spoke about Catherine's recent speeches on addiction, and we were very grateful to receive this comment from Orion, who said, I will be honest here and say that I respect the Princess of Wales wholeheartedly. As a native American living on the west coast of the USA, I have struggled with alcoholism for most of my adult life. I'm proud to say that I've nearly 1 year sober from alcohol and my life is on an entirely different trajectory now. I've been judged by religious family members, family friends, co-workers and a host of others for most of my life. It has only been this past year where I've finally decided that nobody's opinion matters to me but my own. But it has been helpful to have people who don't judge me based on my past actions as I suffered from my addiction. Having read Catherine's post on social media, I was greatly heartened by it and I love her for it. Wow, Orion. Thank you so very much for sharing your experience and we're really so happy for you. Congratulations on 1 year of being sober. All strength and power and love to you. Now, earlier this week, we put out a very festive episode of Palace Fashion where we spoke about what the royals wear over Christmas and how you can wear it too. As you can imagine, tartan featured heavily on that episode. It's one of my personal favourite patterns, and to celebrate it, we have compiled a montage of the royals wearing tartan, so stay tuned to the end of the show for that. Now, after watching Palace Fashion, Luann George wrote to us and said, how fun was that? I agree, I had brilliant fun. I'm 67 and my girlfriends and I love fashion even though we are not model material. I bet that's not true, Luann. We love and support each other in trying all kinds of age-appropriate fashion. The show was so much fun. Sniff those candles and test those scents, ladies, and add some wine next time, LOL. Yes, where was the wine? Thank you for an enjoyable watch. Thank you, Luann. We will speak to the producers about getting some wine on set. It's about time, 'tis the season. We also had this lovely comment from Katie Lewis Priya, who said, thanks Palace Confidential for a fun and festive royal Christmas fashion program this week. Made folding 3 loads of laundry so much more bearable. Such a great panel for the commentary as well. I'm sure Rebecca was sorry to miss it. She was indeed sorry not to be with us, but we can forgive her as she was on an engagement that just couldn't be missed, and there'll be more on that very soon in the show. A reminder that if you click the link below, you will find yourself transported to the fabulous Palace Confidential Fashion Special. It has deals, it has steals, it has the amazing Amanda Wakely OBE. And if you want any of the items on the show delivered to your door before Christmas, you better click quick. Now, lots of you have asked if we can make Palace Fashion a regular show, and we would love to bring you more, so stay tuned. Can I drag you onto a future Palace Fashion episode, Richard? Yes,
maybe it has to be sort of men's style. I'm not sure if I'm qualified to comment on women's particularly.
We talked about the King's perennial timeless style. You could be an absolute treat to have on there.
Well, there you are.
Yeah, and we'll talk about socks as always. Now, finally, some of you have received their YouTube Wrapped recently, which is a breakdown of your most watched YouTube channels. And we love this message from Julie Harris, who certainly did and sent us this. Hello from Sydney, Australia. I'm proud to be in the top 0.1% of your fans and just wanted to say hello and thank you. Please keep up the good work. You're all doing a fantastic job. I look forward to each new video each week. You may think spending this much time watching your podcast, I don't have a life, but I can assure you I managed to enjoy both. Julie, I don't doubt it for a minute, living in beautiful Australia. Thank you so much for that. Now, a question to our viewers. Did you get your YouTube Wrapped? Can anyone beat Julie's top 0.1%? I bet you can, can't you, Richard? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, thanks to you all for watching. It's been a superb year for Palace Confidential. We really can't wait to see what 2026 brings. Right. Back to the coalface, let's get on with the episode. And as promised, we have more news about Mr. Mountbatten Windsor. Richard, what is this about the former prince, his ex-wife Sarah Ferguson, and coming out of exile?
Yeah, this is really interesting. It's something that hasn't happened yet as we record this because it's due to happen on Friday. But it is the christening of Princess Beatrice's daughter, Athena.
Oh.
Now, it should be a lovely event. We'll be at the Chapel Royal at St James's Palace, according to Charlotte Griffiths, who reported details in the Mail on Sunday. Charlotte wrote that Prince Andrew would be there, obviously, as the grandfather of the girl, and also, father of Princess Beatrice.
Yeah.
But it's all a bit awkward, so they won't appear. Neither he nor Sarah Ferguson will appear in photographs. And they probably sort of sneak in through a back door.
You've anticipated my next question. So do you think the chances of actually glimpsing them at St James's Palace are pretty close to zero?
Yes, and I think if we see photographs, it would be the couple with their baby, maybe with the vicar or with godparents perhaps, but not with the grandparents.
Yeah.
So it's that same old thing. I mean, obviously, look, you have to have them there, don't you? It's Beatrice's parents.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's played any part in other royals staying away. For example, Charlotte reported that the Prince and Princess of Wales won't be there. Chapel Royal is where they've had children christened. I think it was a case of Prince George and Prince Louis were both christened there. So it's a place they love.
Yeah.
But they won't be there. And it'll be interesting to see which other royals are.
Indeed. So do you think, does it indicate in any way any kind of thawing between Andrew and the rest of the royals, or we just have to wait and see who goes and who doesn't?
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But no, I don't think it does. I mean, it's the sort of event that you have to let him go to, don't you? He is the king's brother, and he'll be there in the palace again.
Well, from one uncomfortable familial relationship to another, it's time to discuss what's going on with Meghan and her father, Thomas. Now, we spoke about this briefly on last week's show, but a lot more detail has come out about Thomas's condition, as well as the drastic but life-saving surgery he underwent on Wednesday. It's really dramatic, isn't it, Richard? What can you tell us?
Yes, I mean, poor Mr. Markle, the operation that he had to have because of sepsis, I think had his lower leg amputated beneath the knee. So that's something he's going to have to struggle with. And this followed heart attacks and other problems that he's had. The good news is he's been moved from intensive care. He's now recovering in hospital in the Philippines, where he was living with his eldest son. And there's been, very dramatic developments in the sense that he was pitched on the front of the Mail on Sunday in his hospital bed, pleading with Meghan that he wanted to see her before he died.
Oh, it's just such heartbreaking stuff, isn't it? What did he say?
Yes, well, just that really, that he'd like to see her. He would love to see his grandchildren by Prince Harry and Meghan for the first time. He's never met them. I'm sure they won't be flying out to the Philippines in any hurry. But there was quite a lot of confusion about whether Meghan had made contact with him.
Well, that's right, because the spokesman for Meghan confirmed that she had, quote unquote, reached out, that favourite American phrase, to her father via email. But then we understand he didn't receive that email. Is that what happened?
Yes, I think it sounded like she'd sent this to an email account he hadn't used for 5 years.
Oh, gosh.
And it was, his view was, look, I've still got the same mobile phone I've always had. She could just give me a ring. But Meghan obviously didn't want to ring him, presumably because she thinks it could be recorded or who knows. But whatever her reasoning, she wouldn't ring him. And so finally she has reached him apparently, and that's just with a physical letter that she's written.
And is now safely in his hands.
Yes. I mean, I don't know what she said.
No, I mean, you can imagine, can't you, as a dad, what you would want it to say.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine she'll have said, I'm terribly sorry to have heard about this and I hope you have a swift recovery. I mean, it'll be interesting if they do see each other again. But
how likely do we think that is, any kind of reunion on any scale?
Well, he's now much, obviously he's disabled now, he's much more sick than he was. Will he be going back to Los Angeles? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Will she be going to the Philippines? This is an estrangement that she hasn't seen him for years anyway. So it's just a very sad situation all round, I'd say.
And it's interesting as well, isn't it? Because I've always, my personal opinion, we don't really know the nature of their relationship. We don't, I don't think any of us can really ultimately speculate on the difficulties in families. But if he, with him in being such ill health, it risks being a bit of a public own goal for Meghan to remain estranged.
Well, I think that's why she's had spokesmen sort of briefing about trying to contact him. But let's say things we do know is that Meghan was very close to her father. She lived with him rather than with her mother after their split. And that was for many years during her education, which he paid for as well as a private school. And they remained very close. He was paying for her education, I think, even while she was a successful actress. He was still paying off loans. And then she was really excited to introduce him to her new boyfriend. And that's on the few occasions that Harry spoke to him over the phone.
True, yeah.
So we knew they were very close then. And we know that they became estranged with all the stresses in the build-up to the wedding.
It's interesting, isn't it, that Thomas Markle and the King have this very painful commonality in not really knowing their grandchildren.
You're right. I mean, at least the King has met his grandchildren. In the case of Princess Lilibet, I think he's met her only once.
Right.
And maybe a couple of times more with the Prince.
Yeah.
But yes, it's a sad situation for both families.
Well, Harry and Meghan have been at the centre of not one, but two news stories this week. As Meghan was trying to contact her father, Harry received news about the decision to strip him of taxpayer-funded armed police bodyguards here in the UK. Richard, remind our viewers, what's this about? And there's an update, apparently.
Yeah, this is a really big, significant story. So just to recap, what happened when Harry and Meghan chose to quit royal duties and move to North America, first to Canada, then to the USA, their taxpayer-funded police protection on any return visits to Britain was ended because the basis was this is available for for British royal family who need that protection. But and
it was ended, but if he gave 28 days notice, he could have it.
Yeah. So what ended was the automatic right. So at the moment, what they have is if they give due notice of when they plan to come, what they plan to do, it's then assessed. And any risks can be assessed and that type of thing. So they can still get it, but it's not automatic. For other members of the royal family, it's automatic that, it's there all the time and obviously much more expensive. So that was ended. Anyway, Harry was very unhappy about this. He took legal action against His Majesty's government, against the Home Office. He said that proper procedures hadn't been followed and it shouldn't have been taken away from him. Well, anyway, so he lost the legal action and then he appealed and he also lost that appeal. And the reason he lost it was because the judges accepted that because they live abroad, it wasn't applicable. What Harry's point was, look, there's still all these threats against me, the life of myself, my wife, my kids could be in danger. And the judges said, sure, but that's not the issue. The issue is that you're no longer in Britain. So we can assess your threats when you come, but you've got to give due notice and that sort of thing. Yeah. Anyway, Harry's been very unhappy about this and he has made clear time and time again that this is what's preventing him coming back to Britain and bringing his children to meet their grandfather. And it's a big, big thing for Harry. So the latest development was he wrote to the new Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, and said, I want a review. We've had no review since we left Britain back in 2020. Well, anyway, this week's development is that a review is happening. So the government has allowed a new assessment to take place.
And why do you think that's the case?
Well, my goodness, that's why it's such a big thing.
Yeah.
Because nothing has changed.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're thinking, what has changed? Well, I think what has changed is that Harry and Meghan do intend to come back. Harry wants to live in Britain again.
Wow.
At least, I'm not saying permanently or anything, but I'm talking about spending much more time here and having some sort of resident status. On his last visit back in September, he spoke to friends, and I reported this at the time, about how eventually he would like both their children to be educated in Britain.
Yeah.
So he talked about this with several people. It was to the singer Joss Stone as well. Actually, he was really on his mind. So I think he loves life in California in many ways, but he's got old attachments here. He's involved with old charity patronages,
yep.
and he's really keen for his kids to grow up here, have education. So that might not be for a few years, but his father is still being treated for cancer, and he wants to spend more time here. So
yes.
I think that's what this is about.
So you think this is the strongest indication yet that actually moves are afoot to sort of like reintroduce the Sussexes to Britain on a much more permanent basis?
I'll be honest, I've taken quite a bit of mockery about this because I wrote about an establishment plot.
That's right, yes, I
to
remember,
bring them back. And people were like, what's he talking about, establishment plot? And it was even given a name. So people involved called it Project Thaw because they knew that relations between Harry and Meghan and the public and the royal family are very icy. So
yes,
the idea
I was going to say, it says THAW, not THOR,
no,
as in the Avengers. Yeah.
No Avengers.
Yeah.
THAW, to thaw things out and to warm up relations. So, I mean, do you remember Harry's last trip in September? It was a real PR offensive.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. He literally arrived and said, I'm handing over more than £1 million to children in need. He was really trying to get some positive publicity.
Yeah.
He was smiles all the way through. He met pre-arranged meeting with the King, all part of this PR offensive, to have a cup of tea and everything and discuss things. And then he went to Kiev with the British Home Secretary.
That's right, yes.
Foreign Secretary.
Gosh, a lot
Yvette
happens in a
Cooper.
few months, doesn't it?
Yeah. And it is all coordinated, and he's got establishment figures on side. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Now, a decision is to be made by a committee in January, I believe. So what happens then?
Well, if he is successful and they conclude that he should be given protection again, then I think we will see more of Harry and Meghan. Now, I'm horrified by this, genuinely, because I think it just opens a whole new can of worms. I mean, look, this is Harry and Meghan who have attacked the royal family time and time again. They're completely unrepentant. They think they've done nothing wrong. They haven't apologised in private, as far as we know, definitely not in public. Harry still maintains that they're owed apologies from the royal family. So that they cause trouble and they're coming back. And I think there's a real possibility that they'll be establishing a sort of rival court. They'll be trying to get headlines. That week that Harry was back, he had tons of coverage. But if he comes back with Meghan and the children, there'll be loads of attention. There'll be no attention on the royals, proper royals who are carrying out engagements at that time.
Well, maybe he's planning to come back into the fold as a working royal.
Well, we certainly know they would like to, because that was their original request. They wanted to combine royal duties with making money. And Queen Elizabeth made clear that wasn't on. So, what sort of basis would they be coming back? So they'd be getting... Look, I mean, British taxpayers at the moment are really hard pressed. The Labour government's getting them to pay more in tax. People are quite angry about this already. So if we've all got to pay a lot more money to pay tax for Harry and Meghan to come back, I think people will be furious. And there's another really interesting angle to this. If they're granted that status, that VIP status that they need security in Britain, it looks as if that means they'll have this special, I can't even remember what the exact term is, but it's like sort of special protected person status abroad. And I think the convention is then that America will have to provide security. Well, we know that Harry and Meghan are spending literally millions on security in the States at the moment. So, could the American government and American taxpayers then have to pay for security for them too?
Well, the president won't like that.
No.
Now, a source has said that this review could be a reflection of improved relations between the monarch and his son. Do you think that's the case? But the king presumably isn't directly involved in the Home Office's decision.
No, so the king is not directly involved, but this committee which decides has his representative on it. It has a representative from the police and then from the Home Office, and they decide things between them. And it is quite secretive. That's something which Harry's been very unhappy about. But you would imagine that the monarch's opinion has quite a lot of sway. And I think the king is keen to see his grandchildren. I think he's keen to be reconciled with Harry as well. And I think this is a problem. I do hope that the views of William and Catherine are taken into account and the potential problems this can cause. Look down the line, what could happen? We could have eventually, William becoming king, Catherine and William, on the throne, and then you've got this rival court, well established, of Harry and Meghan back in Britain, getting the headlines, causing trouble. I just think that could be a real nightmare.
That's starting to sound like an HBO show. Well, let's see.
Yeah.
Well, now Richard has written extensively about the so-called plot for Harry to return to the UK, and you can read the full article, and we'll put a link to that in the description below. But let's lift the mood, shall we? We want to talk about the reason Rebecca couldn't film Palace Fashion with us earlier this week, and we don't blame her, because it really was the mother of all engagements. Here she is to tell us more.
I know I sometimes occasionally do a little bit of moaning and groaning about what hard work being a royal correspondent involves. But every now and again an engagement comes along that lands in your lap that is an absolute joy to do. And on Monday, that was my day. It was my turn to accompany Queen Camilla as she toured the set of Rivals, the hugely successful Disney Plus show that's being filmed for a second series down in Bristol. Now, the Queen makes no secret of the fact that she's not only a major fan of the show, but also she was a great friend of its author, Dame Gilly Cooper, who very tragically died after a fall at the age of 88 in October. And they were such good friends that the Queen paid a very rare public tribute to her. It's an interesting dynamic, of course, because Dame Gilly's infamous anti-hero Lothario, Rupert Campbell Black, is rumoured to have been based on Queen Camilla's first husband, Major Andrew Parker Bowles. But this has never stood in the way of a very great friendship, and it was such a hoot on the set. And the first thing we did was the Queen took part in the filming of a scene on a fictional dog show called Master Dog, which is going to be part of this second series. When you've got 5 dogs on set, a load of actors, a load of press, and a member of the royal family, what could possibly go wrong? But actually it went off very smoothly. And the Queen not only got the chance to say hello to some of the canine stars of the show, as well as the human stars of the show, but she was then allowed to sit with headphones and watch the action through a monitor, and really got a fit of the giggles at the end of it. I can't give too much away because obviously, I don't want to spoil the surprise for you, but it is going to be a great series. And then she was invited to sit down and have a cup of tea and cake with the cast. And when she was asked whether she'd read the books and seen the show, she said, I binge watched this show when I was really ill and trying to recover from pneumonia following our big trip to Australia and Samoa in 2024, and I can tell you after watching this it cheered me right up and I got better a lot quicker. And she was just making the point that sometimes people just need a little bit of joy in their lives, a bit of fun, and something like Rivals provides that. So the Queen also got the chance to go kind of behind the scenes into the Rivals show's fictional hair and makeup department. And there was really quite a funny moment when she was being shown around it by the producer, who said, this is where a lot of the naughtiness happens. And I'll be honest, I couldn't really help myself. And I was like, that's what we need to hear more of. And the producer quickly said, no, the fictional naughtiness, at which point the Queen turns to me and goes, the fictional naughtiness. And you could see she just was lapping it all up. She was absolutely loving it.
4 men with Mo. Yeah. And so yeah, fake wigs. Yeah. Fake dressing rooms. This is where a lot of the behind the scenes naughtiness happens.
That's what we need to hear.
The fictional naughtiness.
Yes. The fictional. Yeah.
That's a shame.
It happened.
Laughing and joking aside, there was actually a very serious point to this visit. The Queen was very keen to highlight Britain's thriving film and television industry. She was very keen to highlight the fact that the Rivals behind-the-scenes team involves a lot of young local trainees from the Bristol area, so it's an important local employer. But of course, ultimately, she also wanted to pay tribute to her late great friend, Dame Jilly Cooper, and said that she was sure, even though she wasn't there in person, she would be looking down, cracking open a bottle of champagne and enjoying every minute.
Well, we are so pleased that Camilla and Rebecca had a good time on their behind-the-scenes tour, all access areas of the Rivals set. I, for one, am not even 1% jealous. What about you, Richard?
No, she gets all the best gigs.
So
Rebecca,
happy for her. Now, Rebecca mentioned the character Rupert Campbell Black there. It's true, isn't it, that he was based on Camilla's ex?
Partly true, yes.
Oh, don't ruin it.
He's the caddish, would you say anti-hero?
Yes, yes.
Of the books, the the Rutshire Chronicles.
Yes.
And he was inspired by 3 men. I remember being at a book launch party and Jilly Cooper introduced me to the 3 men. They were all there at this same party who'd inspired the character. And I think they were a bit put out because I think each of them...
Trust Jilly, one man's not enough
exactly.
to be inspiration.
No, I think each of them thought they were the sole inspiration. So it turned out you had Andrew Parker Bowles was one. Then you had Mickey Suffolk, the Earl of Suffolk, was another. And then there was Rupert Lycett Green, who was a tailor, I think.
Right.
And he was another inspiration. So, classic inspiration for Jilly in her mind, putting these together when she's thinking of, her perfect cad, I suppose.
Oh, I love that. I know that Rebecca was so excited to go and visit that set. Do you think you'll be watching the new series of Rivals?
I'll be honest, I've got to get a subscription to Disney. I've got so many different subscriptions, I'm too busy watching, Meghan on Netflix. I'll have to pay for Disney too.
Honestly, modern life is so hard. But hear that? It's time for our Unsung Royal Hero of the Week. And just when you thought we'd heard everything from our Rebecca, do not worry. She's back. She asked, nay, demanded to nominate someone this week. Take it away, Miss English.
Well, I hope you don't mind, although I'm not in the studio this week, I'd really like to nip in and nominate my unsung Royal Hero of the Week, and that is Major Ollie Plunkett, the Queen's outgoing equerry, who is going to today be conducting some of his last duties for the Queen. He's a really lovely man. He's from the Rifles, the regiment of which Queen Camilla is a very proud Colonel-in-Chief. And his important task today is that when the children come to Clarence House to decorate the Christmas tree, he has to help them by placing the first decoration on that tree just with the tip of his sword. And it's particularly challenging. I've been there most years and seen it done, and it doesn't always work out. And I know, being his last year, there'll be, a little bit of pressure on Ollie to make sure that he does the task in hand. I'm sure he will do. I've seen him do it before. So I think, definitely an unsung hero of the week to Major Ollie Plunkett, and good wishes for whatever he goes on to in the rest of his military career.
Richard, Major Ollie Plunkett, he's quite the heartthrob, but I hear you've got information on his replacement.
Yes, this is another
rather cold question of mine, wasn't it?
This is another handsome young officer who is taking a role as equerry to Queen Camilla, and it's from a regiment of which she is Colonel-in-Chief, the Rifles. And it's a great name, Major Rob Treasure.
When you've got a lot to live up to with a name like Treasure.
He sounds like a character from one of Jilly Cooper's novels, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But no, he is a real man, and he is far braver than me, I can tell you, because one of the things he did was, with a couple of mates, he rowed across the Atlantic.
What?
God, that fills me with absolute horror, but he did. He rowed all the way across the Atlantic. And at the time, the King, then Prince Charles, I think, had sent him a message to say how impressed he was. But anyway,
There's
obviously,
a fine line between bravery and madness, isn't there?
well, he obviously, caught Queen Camilla's eye too. So he will
Indeed,
be
yes.
starting work as an equerry, and we will keep tabs in my social diary, confidential on his work.
He sounds more than able, but he does have some big boots to fill.
Yes, but I'm sure he'll be a treasure.
Indeed, a treasure. See what you did there. Now, I know it'll be a wrench for some viewers, but we need to move on from attractive equerries. Do not worry, we have another visual treat for you. As promised, here are some of our favourite pictures of the royals wearing tartan. Do like a man in a kilt. What about you, Rich? Have you ever worn a kilt?
Not yet.
It's been a big topic of discussion.
Yes.
You think we'll get you in one day?
Here's the deal. I will if Prince William will.
Okay, well, we're never going to see either of them in a kilt, are we? But I think for palace fashion.
Oh no, you're putting me off now.
Oh, look, maybe we will be able to convince Richard to wear one for the Christmas episode of Palace Confidential. Let me know if you're up for that campaign. But that's it for today. A reminder to like and subscribe to the Daily Mail Royals channel for more exclusive royal content like this, and to sign up to the Palace Confidential newsletter by scanning the QR code that's on your screen now, or clicking the link in the description below. It's free, and if you sign up this week, you will get to take part in that Christmas quiz featured in next week's newsletter. Thank you to Richard for joining me today, and Rebecca, albeit virtually. And as always, a huge thanks to you for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.